Roger has closed his small business, but at 58, he is too young to consider retiring. After some deliberation, he decides to see what a popular business networking website is about, immediately noticing the amount of discussion regarding leadership. He chuckles at the acronyms behind the names and the expertise they are supposed to represent. He sees a rather narrow understanding of the leadership concept based more on academics than true experience. If only they could understand what they do not know about what they do not know. His fascination with the concept of leadership began in the 1980s, when he discovered the book In Search of Excellence. That book was followed by numerous other books on management and leadership. Many years later, the advent of the Internet made instant information available at his fingertips. A popular video viewing website made speeches and conferences on leadership, once hidden, now open to the masses. Curiosity led him to ask people he came into contact with about their places of work. Once they discovered he cared about their situation and was safe to talk to, they would open up and share usually guarded information. He is eternally grateful for those opportunities as he learns so much. Knowing leadership training is as essential in frontline positions as it is in management offices, it became apparent that it needed to be pushed down to floor managers and team leads. Observation showed the leadership training freight train developed over the years was and is not being pushed down. Many people are being promoted to lower-level supervisor positions and left to flounder in their new roles. He sees many failures as new leaders focused on the leadership steps they were taught. He applauds the efforts to train leadership, but the industry has become a swamp of books, training concepts, and personalities. Within all of these are a few overlapping vital concepts. It is from these concepts that authentic leadership arises. While not 100%, he observes the most influential leaders arise from learning the lessons of hardship. The teacher, the coach, and even the disciplinarian when needed. They are the people who do not draw attention to themselves, letting their team get credit for their success and by accepting responsibility when things go wrong. Putting leader in their tagline is never a thought. He knows it can be hard to remember the persons who positively impact people's lives. They were just there, not making waves, but making a difference. A colleague once told him some of the best managers they had were people who had raised families. From raising his own children to adulthood, he knows raising children is a baptism by fire. Being a parent is teaching, cheerleading, counseling, disciplining, and becoming a coach when they become young adults. He thinks of other moments in his life that formed him into an adult that practices empathy and has given him the ability to listen in conversation and hear what is not being said. In his mid-20s, while working in his shop alone on a Saturday, he was interrupted by a young man who stopped in to tell him David, a young man he had mentored the best that he could with little experience, had died in a car accident. His first experience losing someone close was with the death of David, someone he cared for and considered a younger brother. Working with his father put him in a place to be there when his father received the phone call that his own father had passed away. A decade later, he was there when he found out his father's brother had lost his cancer battle. Just a year later, he was listening when the call came that his father's mother had passed on. Not many children get that kind of experience with their parents. He was in his 30s by the time he met his wife. A woman he is thankful for and who could ride a small business's ups and downs. With her, he raised 3 children to young adulthood, the proudest accomplishment of his life. One day, driving home from the business, he gets a call from his distressed wife asking where he is. She needs him. Arriving home, she informs him that her mother had been killed in a head-on car accident caused by a drunk driver hours after leaving their house. There were many lessons to be learned from this tragic event. The first is how, in all of the seconds in a day, two vehicles could meet in such a manner. All of the decisions in the days prior and on that day conspiring to put them at that place on that road. Everyone has to make their own peace with how and why. He learned how a supporting spouse needs their own level of support. Working late one evening, trying to get extra work done, he reaches into what he and his father considered the safest machine in the shop. This bad decision resulted in severing the end of one finger and almost severing another. In the fog of pain and uncertainty, he lets the doctor talk him into trying to reattach the missing portion. In the end, too much time had passed before the surgery, and the reattachment was unsuccessful, costing him even more of the finger. He missed an important doctor's appointment for his son the following day, spending 4 days in the hospital after the attempt to reattach the finger. Months later, it occurred to him that he would always bear the scar of a momentary lapse of judgment, one that he could not hide from the world, an embarrassment to him for many years. Working one morning, he noticed his father had yet to arrive at the shop at his usual time. Shrugging his shoulders, he continued to work until his phone rang. His mother was calling to say his father was in the emergency room. It was looking like a heart attack. His father was transferred to a heart hospital in a larger city shortly after her call. It was determined upon arrival his father would require quintuple bypass surgery. Working in the shop alone after the heart attack, he had time to reflect on the past and on his future. He needed help, remembering the make and model of his cherished banana seat bicycle from his childhood. He spent time online, looking to fill gaps in childhood memories. After many hours, he determined his freedom wheels were an Otasco Flying O Scorpion. In the months following the heart attack, he became a sounding board for his father. There were many conversations with his dad, remembering his childhood and time in the Air Force. The most sobering discussions were about what it would be like to die. His father was coming to terms with death. There came a day after 37 years. He realized he was tired of fighting the small business fight. With great sadness, he began selling the equipment and building. It was a gut-wrenching time, and on that final day, with tears in his eyes, he saluted the shop and closed the door. It was the end of a way of life and working with his father. He knew from a previous study when he decided to end the business, he was damaged goods in the job market. Through research, he knew his age and being a former business owner were marks against him. All the years of experience and self-education put him in a position of having a general knowledge of the entire business process. This overall knowledge, rather than being helpful, is a hindrance. Still, he cannot unlearn what has been learned. In communicating with potential places to work, he feels it is dishonest to play dumb. Persons will ask what this history has to do with leadership. His answer is, if you have to ask, you don't know what you don't know.